Hey everyone, my name is Isaiah Perkins. I am a film grad from UNT. I graduated back in 2021, and this is the beginning of a 30-part series of me watching movies, amazing, supposedly critically acclaimed movies that I never really got to, just in general. If you look at the list, you actually may be shocked with how popular these movies are, and you actually may be shocked a little bit more when you realize, yeah, I'm a film grad and I had never actually watched any of these. No particular reason, but like growing up, a lot of these are like rated R and the content in them isn't exactly for children. So it's not like my family was putting these movies on for me growing up. I'll put the list right here. Boop. If you want, you can actually watch these movies along with me. The order that they are in is actually going to be the order in which I watch these films. So, as you can tell by the little picture right here and by the title down below, the first movie is Parasite. So, yeah, let's just kind of jump into it. Yeah, I'm scared I wasn't recording. It tells a story of two families, a wealthy family, the Parks, and a very, very poor family, the Kims. Both are your typical families. Thunder? It's not even raining. It's metaphorical or something. Anyway, it couldn't be more different, though. The Parks, of course, are incredibly wealthy thanks to the father, who is, I guess, some tech whiz. It doesn't really go too into detail on what he does, but that's because it doesn't really matter. What matters is how the Parks treat the Kims, who are historically poor, jumping from job to job, living quite literally under the street, practically in the sewer, and their philosophies on life are just wholly different because of the experiences that they have had going throughout life. The story comes to a pretty epic climax when the Kims, who have completely infiltrated the home of the Parks, serving as their help completely, chauffeur, housemaid, tutors, all of it, they try to take solace and comfort into a home that isn't theirs. They pretend it is, but it isn't really theirs, while the Parks are away for a camping trip. It is here where the movie really begins to shine and becomes just a bottle of anxiety injected into a film. It's quite interesting and not really something I had really ever seen before. Some of the crazy anxiety-inducing moments make you sit on the edge of your chair. It's beautiful, truly. But if you want to watch the movie, you can watch the movie. Actually, I encourage you to watch the movie. I'm not really here to tell you about the entirety of this movie. What I want to do, though, is kind of talk about what I got from this movie. Because I got a lot from this movie, and there's a lot to learn about this movie. Lots to digest. So, we're going to do that. Come join me down here. It's a little bit more comfortable. So, I guess where I want to start first is, I guess, what the movie was really all about. You know, the relationship between poor and wealthy people, just in general, in the capitalistic world that we have created. What is that relationship between those who have nothing and those who have everything? There should not be any real difference in how we treat those around us, whether or not they are poor or wealthy. The way that we treat people who we do not know, and especially treat people who we interact with, often shouldn't differ if they haven't wronged us. Now, I'm not trying to say that the Parks are good people I'm not even really trying to say that the Kims are good people. They're just both families trying to survive. And I think that's actually kind of interesting. Bong Joon-ho did a really great job telling the story of two families of people coming together. When you think you know who a family is, you start making a lot of assumptions. And those assumptions start driving a whole lot of our choices. And I think Bong Joon-ho did a really great job about showcasing how that kind of works out. You see, the whole reason that all of the Kims even got the job, or the jobs that they got, was because of them manipulating the matriarch for the parks. The consequences of the actions have to be shown, have to be felt. Everybody knows it's going to come crashing down. You're watching and you know that this isn't going to be a fairy tale ending, at least not in the way you may hope. And I feel like that is a really cool storytelling technique. When you put your characters into unique situations, unique consequences will follow. If you're making a story, writing a story, filming a story, telling a story, if it's fictional, let it be fictional. You don't have to play by the rules when you make your own world. If you want something crazy to happen, something crazy can happen. You just have to make sure you're doing all of the work and the setup before it happens so that it makes sense in the long run. And that's why this movie felt like it had such a long first act, I think, because it had to set up the world that we saw so that when people start dropping like flies at the end of the movie, we're like, oh, yeah, no duh, this is going to happen. What else could happen? This is the only option. I can also take away a lot of really cool imagery choices. This movie has some great imagery. A lot of the themes that I liked that the images showcased was just how high up the parks were and how down low the Kims were. I thought that was really great. After the climax of the second act, in which case the Kims have to awkwardly just kind of listen and sit in and watch as, Mother and Father Park had some really intimate time together. But I loved the closeness in that scene. I say loved. Really, it just made me very anxious. But it made me feel, which is good. A movie should make you feel how close they were in that environment was anxiety inducing. This came out before COVID. This came out before we were all trapped with one another. It's a bit ahead of time, if you ask me. But it was 5 people within 6 feet of each other, all having drastically different experiences in that moment. That type of visual storytelling is so cool. After experiencing the night they just experienced, they have to leave this paradise that they were just kings and queens of. They were in the house. They had all the food. They hadn't dined like this before in who knows how long. Their life is something far sadder, far worse. They descend into hell. I mean, slowly, may I add. It is raining and it's pouring and they're just slogging along, going further and further down. It's literally all hills. They're just constantly like trotting down hills the entire time. If that's not a descent into hell, I don't know what is. And once they finally get home, well, their home is hell. It's flooded. Everything. Their life. Their livelihood. Their memories. Their dreams. Their aspirations. It's just all kind of gone now. And it's gut-wrenching. It shows you just how real this scenario is for them. And just how grotesque it is. How gross that reality is that they have to go back to when old shiny fairy tale land disappears. So when it comes to the visuals, what I really took away from this film was showcasing how brutal a moment is. I think that is a big staple in this film. Every time something bad happens, we see how bad it is. We feel it. When the flood takes over, that's bad. It was scary. When the Parks come home, we feel the anxiety of how close both families were to each other without actually knowing that they were, in fact, right next to each other. I was thinking about it, and I find it actually quite interesting. Parasite came out in 2019. What also came out in 2019 was a film that I love. It's the second Jordan Peele movie, Us. The themes that both movies kind of talk about are the same in a sense. You have the story of two families, one wealthy, one very poor, coming together inside of one house, owned by the wealthy family, trying to be taken over by that of the poor family, the family who has nothing really to lose and everything to gain. Both films also have that descent into hell thing that I was talking about, where Lupita Nyong'o's character descends into the world of the tethered and has their real cool climactic fight at the end. Here in Parasite, we don't get a fight. Well, I guess we kind of do get a fight. It's a fight for survival. So with that, next up, we'll go into my best and my worst moments of Parasite. For this, we're going to go to my computer because the floor is getting a bit uncomfy. So, see you all over. So, best moments, worst moments. Pretty easy. Fair enough. After the flood, the day after the flood is the start of Act 3. We'll call it that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It is what it is. But that part, that act, that collection of scenes are so beautiful and gut-wrenching. It makes everything feel worthwhile. Every action had a consequence here. It also helps wrap up the story of Mr. Kevin. The son of the Kims. Because the entire film, he kind of goes through this movie feeling like he is an imposter. Feeling like everything that's kind of he has going on is not really worthwhile. And it's in this moment that he decides or that he realizes what he does want to do, what his purpose is. It took a lot, and I hope it never takes me that much to find out what it is I want to do. But for him, this is how he found that out. And I think that was really, really awesome. Worst moment of the movie, I'm going to go with, in particular, what I talked about earlier when Mrs. Parks was getting all touchy-feely with Mr. Park. Quick side note. The fact that she was wearing the sister's panties, crazy little detail. I had to go back to make sure I was understanding what was happening. Absolutely grotesque and disgusting. But they seem like they may be into some weird stuff. I imagine most rich people are. Not to make general assumptions. I feel like this movie is actually always kind of telling me not to do that. But, I mean, if the shoe fits, you're going to wear it a little bit. So, if the worst thing about this movie is that it made me feel gross, I'm sure that was the point. I don't think I can knock it too much for that, you know? If the worst part of the movie is something really good, it's really good movie. But I also kind of want to tell you about my favorite shot of the entire film, of which there are many, many good ones. But one shot in particular was amazing, and it was the shot, the very last shot of the flood, when we see an aerial view of the flooded street of which the Kims live on. I have no idea how they got that shot done. That was something wild to me, truly. But it was a really, really great shot that shows the devastation and the destruction of Mother Nature. You know, nobody can really run from it. You just kind of have to wait it out. And I think that shot was truly, truly beautiful. A lot to take away from this film. It was a great film. I can see why it did as well as it did. I wonder if this movie came out after COVID, if it would have had an even larger impact on it. I feel like the closeness really heightens the anxiety of that film, something that we all became very acutely familiar with just a year after that film released. Something to think about. So, with the conclusion of Parasite, we open the door to the next film, which will be, drumroll please, 2001 Space Odyssey. Space Odyssey. One of those two. Really excited for this one. From what I've seen, it's a movie that has like a whole bunch of super long takes, and I just eat that up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If I'm being honest, I love that. Also, I want to go into some of the other things that I'm watching right now. The other films, TV shows, podcasts, music, all that good stuff. Just things that I find interesting that, I don't know, maybe y'all will find interesting. So currently, I decided to rewatch a few episodes of Haikyuu. It's an anime about boys playing volleyball who just absolutely love volleyball. Their entire passion, everybody's driving force behind this entire show is the love of the sport volleyball. And I find that it's really interesting when you get a whole bunch of characters, every character in the entire show, to have the same driving force, but different reasons behind it. You get some really, really fun storytelling. And some really, really good character work. You know? So definitely check out Haikyuu. Other things I'm watching. If you are into Twitch streams and the stream world, I've been watching a whole lot of this, little small time creator. Her name is TV Mars. I'll drop a link below. You can catch her. Super funny, plays a lot of video games. Give her a watch if you would like. She's hilarious and she's awesome. So if you're into Twitch, give her a follow, give her a like, give her a watch. And I will see y'all next time when we dive into the world of 2001, A Space Odyssey. Thank y'all for coming, and I will see y'all next time.